Good morning, or in proper Dutch, goedemorgen. That's about the only Dutch you'll hear from me today, if all goes well. Well, welcome to YoastCon. This is the first time we're doing this. If it's fun, it might not be the last. We'll see at the end of the day. A couple of quick notes that are pretty important for people that are on the internet all the time. We've actually got Wi-Fi. This should work. If it doesn't, there's some people walking around who can help you. And if you're tweeting, Facebooking, or whatever, please use hashtag YoastCon so we can do fun stuff with your tweets on our live stream and everywhere else. As you can see, there's a couple of cameras rolling. We're live streaming everything through YouTube today, so there might be a few more people than just you watching. I'm going to start out the day by talking about 5 years of Joost and 5 years of SEO and how that combines into what we're talking about today. 5 years ago, and actually up until 3 years ago, this is what Joost looked like. This was our attic at home, where I sat, and starting February 2012, Michiel sat with me every once in a while, and when Marika was home and not doing the other job she still had at that time, came up and encouraged me when people were flaming me or giving me shit for plugins not working and stuff like that. A lot has happened in those 5 years. At a certain point, I decided, okay, I'm going to build one WordPress SEO plugin to rule them all. All-in-one SEO pack was out there. We had a lot of ideas about how things should be done differently, so I built my own. When I actually went through the posts preparing this presentation, I was like, so it took me that long to actually build that plugin into something useful. In October 2010, I released it for the first time to the public in public beta. It was pretty bad compared to what it is now. But that was when things really took off and we started getting into the millions of users that we have today. In February 2012, Michiel joined me and wrote his first post, which, funnily enough, is still the question that we ask our site review customers the most. They come to us with a site, they want us to review it, and the first question we ask is, where the hell do you want me to click? Because most of the time, there'll be this web page with like 7 call to actions, either in 7 different colors or seven call to actions that all look the same, but all go to different pages. And we just have to tell people, like, okay, you should make this more clear, you should make this better. And this is the theme that's going to go through today. SEO, in our view, is more than just some technical tips and tricks. It's a whole lot more in what you do. In September 2012, I released our first premium plugin. This was the first time I actually charged anyone to use some of our software. And this was also the time when I was sort of amazed by, okay, we can actually make money doing this. Up until that time, I'd been doing it all on my own and have been doing all of the support on my own, didn't have any cash to fund further development, and didn't have any cash to really get a support team going. So that made it hard. The premium plugins actually made it possible that we could do a lot of things for free. In March of 2013, we released the second one, which is local SEO, which is still one of our top plugins today and is getting more and more important. Actually, Arjan, who built that along with us, should be here today. I don't know if he's here yet. I haven't seen him yet. But we slowly started growing. In December, we'd hired a few more people. Along them, my brother Thijs, who ran support. We still ran support off of forums back then, just like WordPress.org does it. We thought that was the way to go. We quickly figured out it's not the way to go. So we moved to email support, and at that point, we really were able to start growing our support team. A year and a couple of months ago, we released WordPress SEO Premium. That was actually the first real foray into like a proper freemium model where we have a free WordPress SEO and a premium extension to it. And that has taken us into some accelerated growth that none of us had really expected. Then we did more stuff. Marike joined the company full-time and did things like write our first ebook and our second ebook, and it all started coming together a bit more. I'll tell you through today how that's gonna work out in the future. The funny thing is that attic feels like yesterday to me. It's been 3 years, but time goes so fast when you grow this quickly. If you look at this was December last year. This was our team. In December last year, we had 15 people in our office in Wiegen, and we had 18 people in total. It's now May, and we have 27 people, of which 20 in Wiegen. And we're probably going to hire number 28, 29, and 30 in the next month. So my colleagues are a bit like rabbits. They reproduce rather quickly. In those 5 years, Google has changed a lot, and at the same time, not all that much. Now, there are some people who are not from the Netherlands here, so I'll tell you that when we talk about SEO in the Netherlands, we really only talk about Google. Google has a 99.5% market share here, so there's no use in talking about anything else. But in some other parts of the world, Bing might actually do some stuff too, but they've mostly followed Google in their changes. So most of the things we'll say today will work in Bing as well, and if you're in Holland, you don't need to worry. So I highlighted a couple of the big updates that Google did in those 5 years. Panda was probably the first update that Google did that really, in those 5 years, that shocked people, that killed a lot of people's websites that were doing spammy stuff, a lot of people that were writing enormous amounts of content just for the search engine were killed off back then. Then about 6 months later, they released another black and white animal, Penguin, that killed everyone that was buying links and that was doing all sorts of other spammy stuff. Then with Hummingbird, they actually tried to do a completely new search algorithm, and I think we're only seeing what Hummingbird did in the last year or so. Now that you see when you search, you see these knowledge-based things come up in the search results all the time. You see when you search for a name, you see much more content now than you see actual search results. The more and more that you search and you see changes, you see Google trying to give the answer instead of a web page. And then April of this year, they launched what the SEO industry has called Mobilegeddon, which is not exactly Mobilegeddon for most people yet, but will be over time. Mobilegeddon being an update where Google says if you're not mobile friendly, your site will not rank as well in mobile search results anymore. And what most people don't realize is that for a lot of sites out there, mobile traffic is half of their traffic. I do a lot of consulting work for The Guardian still, and at The Guardian, it recently crossed the 60% mark, where 60% of our traffic is now mobile. And that's going up quite rapidly, so rapidly that we expect it to be like 70, 80% over the coming 2 years. There's one clear goal to all these updates. Google wants to bring order to chaos. They want to have this chaos of the web with all that information that's out there and bring order to it. In two ways, it's combating spam, and it's rewarding sites that have a good user experience. All those changes do not mean that SEO is now any easier or useless. In fact, we can still walk into sites, do a site review, tell them to change a couple of things about their site, and it really sometimes is only really a couple of things, and they double or triple their traffic in a few months. So we call this holistic SEO. want you to focus on all aspects of website optimization to be the first result instead of try to pretend like you're the first result. You have to be the best. And that means that you have to focus on your product, your website, a lot more than just doing some things that you think are good for SEO. It means you have to make a good website. Now, in order to explain this, I want to explain it by using one of my favorite spare time things to do, which, for those of you who know me, is Lego. This entire stack of boxes is waiting for our team to be built tomorrow, when we have a day of a bit of relaxation after this conference. So we'll be doing that. If you're tweeting at us tomorrow, we won't be doing much work. But I want to compare it to what makes an awesome Lego box is probably a very good analogy for what makes an awesome website. So the first thing any good website needs is the right design. But that's also something that's going to really easily trip you. Because it's not all about the facade. It's not all about the outside. Even though it has to look pretty, the inside is what counts way more. So even though Lego spends a whole lot of time working on how those boxes look, one of the most important bits of a Lego box is actually that it's explained well how you build that box. For those of you who know Legos, this is a very big box. So you get a manual that's like this big in a binder, like that, and you go through it as you build it. Building this thing can easily take 2 people 2 days. So it's very important that they explain it well. This is how it works on your website too. It has to be clear to first-time visitors where to go, and it also has to be very clear to regular visitors how to get somewhere quickly. This is one of the reasons, just one, of why we asked Carl to speak to you later about user experience and stuff like that, because he is one of the guys that has inspired us the most in that area. Lego does this by going weird about the details. So this restaurant you just saw, the floor you're looking at actually has this on the inside. Once you've built that house, nobody will ever see that inside anymore normally. But Lego focuses on every detail of what's in there. So design is about usability. It's about relaying your style. But most importantly, it's about making sure that people know what to do on your website. Now, the number 2 thing that we consider in holistic SEO is technical excellence. This does not work. This does. Bonus points for those of you who spot the difference. It will amaze you that people pay us to do a site review, and one of the first things we do is we spider their site for errors, for 404s and other errors. And we'll easily come up with a list of, like, you've got this list of 1,000 errors on your site. You could have fixed those before you paid us to do anything on your site. But this happens to everyone. So you have to keep cleaning up that site. Marcus, who will speak right after me, actually has built a tool called onpage.org, which is very good about helping you clean all that shit up. In fact, he's been kind enough to bring vouchers so that everyone can try his tool for 3 months. It's a pretty awesome tool, so you get those later. It's just very important to do that right. Of course, to do technical excellence, you also need a bit of Joost in your site. Now, so far, you can only do that on WordPress. We're working on that to get that to other platforms. But Taco will actually do a presentation or in the workshop round later on how to properly set up Yoast SEO. You have to realize that you probably should be doing all these things before you have to call the fire brigade. Every time Google releases Panda or Penguin or an update to any of those things, we are very happy people. Why? Because all of you start ordering site reviews because you've lost all your traffic. It's very easy to see these things coming if you know what you're looking for. You have to keep cleaning up your site. You have to be aware of what is on your site. You have to look at your old content and make sure that you don't have too much crap lying around. Another thing about technical excellence, which we won't address as much today because it's a far too technical topic, but it mostly means these days get good hosting, is that being slow and having a slow website is no longer an option. If your website takes 8 seconds to load, I'm gone. Now, I'll be honest, that goes for all of us who are used to broadband internet. And if you're Dutch, you're probably used to a whole lot more broadband internet than most of the people in the US are, so they wait a bit longer. And in fact, the average load time for YoastCon in India, where we get about 20% of our traffic, is probably 7 to 8 seconds because of all the delays. So this differs per section of the world, but the only thing I can tell you is that you have to be faster all the time. So a design that loads like 20 JavaScripts and 20 style sheets and looks very fancy but is slow is not as cool as a very clean design that is very fast. You also need options for everyone with that. If you have an ice cream cart, you won't sell too many ice creams if you only have one taste of ice cream. If you have a couple of choices, people will do more. So this goes in 2 ways. The most important content on your site needs to be available in different formats. It should probably be there as a video, as text, as audio, if you can do that, if you have the time. But it also means that your website should work just as well on a mobile phone as on the desktop. Now, all of these things combined are not really interesting if you don't have a good story. So that restaurant I showed you earlier, on the first floor, this is what Lego put into it. That's actually a guy holding a ring and a girl with a glass of wine in her hand. They built the story into the building. This is what you need to do too. Your website needs to be about good stories. Why should people talk about you? How shareable is your content? Is your news actually newsworthy? Or is it you throwing out press releases and nobody ever reading them? The amount of corporate blogs that we see where people don't interact and nothing is happening is staggering. Because let's face it, nobody wants to perform in an empty room. Nobody likes doing this. Yet, all of these companies are doing it because it's good for SEO. That's nonsense. If you're not going to create content that people are going to interact with, you might as well not do it. So create something that's actually worth sharing. And most of your company news might not be worth sharing that much. Which is why our turning 5 years old was turned into a conference, so it's actually something worth sharing, because the basic fact that we're 5 years old is not really that newsworthy. You also have to realize that this takes time. People will email me now and saying, so how did you so suddenly become the success that your company obviously is, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, suddenly? I started YoastCon in 2008. It was the continuation of a blog I had since 2005. This is hard work. SEO should probably stand for seriously effortful optimization. It takes sweat, it takes work. It's not easy, it takes a lot of time. Pillar number 4 under holistic SEO, and the reason why Tony is here to talk to us about security later on, is security. Because this is all good if your site is actually yours to control. We got Tony here to talk about the state of WordPress security mostly, but you'll probably be scared a bit after his talk, which is what he does. But it's also good, because you have to realize that keeping a site secure is actual work too. I talked about our fire brigade before. One of the things we encounter in our site reviews, like once a month, sometimes a bit more, sometimes a bit less, is that people will order a site review because they've lost all their traffic and they think they've been hit by Panda or something else. And we look at their site and we go like, that's a nice Viagra ad. Here's your money back, go to Sucuri, get your site cleaned up. And probably get some things going so you don't get hacked again. If your site gets hacked, you lose a lot, and you might not notice yourself for quite a while if you're not checking for it. We've actually had people email us who've been trying to figure out for 2 weeks why they've lost all their traffic, and we see in like 5 minutes that their site is hacked. So don't be that person. All of this combined. Welcome to YoastCon. We're going to go up to Marcus and go from there.